Get ready to find your recipe for a successful real estate lifestyle from America's top experts here at Greenlight REI with your host, Lance Edwards.
Well, hello, everyone. Hi, this is Lance Edwards. Welcome to this edition of Greenlight REI, where we're here to teach you about the successful real estate lifestyle. And I got to tell you, there's probably nothing more important to leading to a successful lifestyle of any kind than knowing about how to control your thoughts and all about your mindset. And so we have an extra special guest today who's committed his adult life to mindset and personal development and achievement. And he not only teaches it, but he lives it. And he lived it. Let me tell you this. He lived it and he transformed others while incarcerated in prison. We're going to talk about that wrongly, I might add. We're going to talk about that story. And his name is Peter Sage. And I've recently come to know Peter through a mutual project where we're aiming to focus our complementary talents in a program to help our American veterans enter real estate investing. And with that recent meeting, when I had a chance to get to know Peter, I knew I just had to introduce him to my group. And so I'm very excited today to be able to talk to Peter. And a little bit of background on Peter. He's an international serial entrepreneur, and he's an absolute expert in human behavior. He's highly sought after speaker and coach. He's spoken on 5 continents, sharing the stage with Sir Richard Branson and President Bill Clinton. And he's also best-selling author of the book called Inside Track, The Inside Track, which chronicles his prison story. And we'll be talking about that here and the impact, what it means to all of us. And he's also going to explain how you get this book for free when you hang on to the podcast. So, Peter, with that, thank you so much for joining us on Greenlight REI.
Lance, an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad we were able to make it happen, get a date in the diary. I know we're both busy, but yeah, I'm sure this is going to add a tremendous amount of value to the tribe. That's certainly my intent. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to come share. Oh, man, this is so cool. And well, so here's what I'm going to do, Peter. We've got a lot to talk about. Before, I know you have a lot to share. Before we get into the book and your prison story, would you mind first expanding on your background and how did you become an expert in personal development, human behavior, and helping others with breakthroughs? Kind of what is your background? Sure. Well, I mean, I dropped out of school at 16. I've got no formal qualifications. You know, I couldn't spell MBA. Yeah, I essentially discovered at my age, going through school, which is, I'm 50 now, is that school traditionally teaches you 2 things, which is how to pass tests and work for somebody else. Mm-hmm. And I got out of there. I wasn't academically gifted, but I did have this spark. I understood that when you go to work for somebody else, by definition, you're going to be paid less than what you're worth. Why? Because if the job is worth $1,000 a week, that's what the job's worth. You're not going to get paid $1,000 a week for it because then there's nothing in it for the business owner. So the very definition of going to a job means you're earning less than what you're worth. And that didn't sit well with me. I saw people becoming this, what I call or saw as an entrepreneur. And it was like fascinating to me. So I dropped out of school at 16. I started my first business at 17, which was on flea markets, selling toys out of the boot of my little Mini. And I sort of went from there. And fast forward by 25 years old, I was running several international companies. I'd seen a lot, done a lot, made a lot, lost a lot, and had a lot of fun. And part of that journey was paralleled at 17 from understanding there was an industry called personal growth. And I'm like, whoa, where was that in school? They actually teach you how to be successful. I thought school taught you how to go work for somebody you didn't like in a job that didn't pay you enough to then call yourself successful. So I threw myself into personal growth when I came across it at 17. And every dime that I made, every spare hour, I was reading books, listening to cassette tapes, and really saw the value. Now, there is a caveat. I will share that most of my late teens and early 20s, a lot of the success focus that I was on that track was to cover up the insecurities as a young man that I wasn't good enough by trying to prove to the world that I was. And that was a hamster wheel to frustration. Yes, by 25, I was buying Ferraris for cash and flying Concorde and doing all of that stuff. But I felt very unfulfilled. I got to the top of Success Mountain. I wanted to jump off because what I thought was there was not there. Because I realized there was a huge difference between a life-chasing success and a life-chasing fulfillment. And that's when my quest shifted. Rather than understand how to set goals and achieve it, which I know how to do, why was I doing it? And that's when I started looking at human behavior, which was an area of personal growth very few people understand. And that's really what's been my passion since then. And since then, it's given me not only the ability to build bigger international companies and chase the success route, but really find that level of fulfillment no matter what life throws at you, which it will.
All right. So what a fascinating background. I mean, so you've been literally, your whole adult life has been literally devoted to this subject, either for yourself or teaching others through personal development. So the second part I want to share is when you and I spoke recently, one of the things I shared with you is I said, success equals skill set plus mindset. I've always shared this and I believe this. You had a little spin on it. You said, well, yeah, it's just skill set plus mindset gets you jet set. Can you talk about that and how that relates to everything that you're doing now?
Sure. The majority of most people in personal growth, those that are motivated to want to do more, which is a great tribe of people, because you've got that willingness to let go of any kind of victim mentality or blame mentality. You know that you get a hand in life and you have to play it. And so there's a lot of people that have the impetus, the desire, the courage to want to go out and try to create something for themselves. I totally love that. However, the path that most people follow is fundamentally flawed. And I say that with love, but because of the way the school system is set up and our indoctrination through that, which I'm not knocking traditional education, but I'm saying it conditions us to chase knowledge mastery as the key to success. And so a lot of people are out there chasing skills in order to get certainty. And unfortunately, you're not going to get it, because certainty is an internally referenced state. Skills are externally sourced knowledge. So if you're chasing knowledge mastery without addressing the inner workings of self-mastery, i.e. mindset, then you can learn all the money-making techniques, all the real estate tricks and trades. You're just simply going to find different ways of earning the same amount of money that you're used to. Why? Because your inner game isn't on point. You can learn all of the different skills, get all the certificates on the wall. It's not addressing the one key factor, which is the person who's responsible for applying the skills. That's why mindset plus skill set equals jet set. But without the mindset, most people are just chasing the skill set. That they're not going to find it. Yet people aren't in debt because they don't earn enough money. People are in debt because they haven't mastered their relationship to money. People aren't overweight because they eat too much food. They're overweight because they haven't mastered their relationship to food. It's an internal level of self-mastery that if you don't put that foundation in first, none of the knowledge mastery is going to help. You're just going to get an expensive notebook.
I'm in, brother, because, I was one of the ones when I was getting started in real estate, I was chasing that knowledge, chasing that skill set just for, thinking that was the path. And I was very fortunate. By chance, I discovered this mindset portion. And that's why now I'm such an advocate. And that's why I'm so excited to have you here sharing some of the principles. So let's get into the book. Because there's so much in here. This is so powerful. And about how this process really impacted you and how it's helping others. So first of all, I got to ask the question, how did you end up in prison? Quickly tell that story and then we'll get into what did it mean for you and all the people that you're helping now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hugely exciting. I was arguing a civil action. No criminal proceedings, never been found guilty. Never been accused of a crime. Still don't have a criminal record. But I was fighting a civil action with a multi-billion-dollar company over some BS deal that they were trying to throw at me from some business deals we'd done, multi-million-dollar deals 6 years before. Mm-hmm. And because I wasn't playing the usual game of acquiescing to a larger authority, because they had bigger legal financial muscles to flex, they threw a contempt of court application at me. And I thought it was to scare me. I mean, you're in business lands. Anyone in business understands that when it comes to civil actions, litigation is a tool. It's not about who's right or wrong. It's a positioning tool on the chessboard. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't give it a lot of credibility. Long story short, they sold it to the judge and he gave me 6 months as the only civil prisoner, non-criminal prisoner in the most violent jail in the UK. And I didn't see it coming. I lost my business. I lost my relationship. I lost everything. And this is 4 years ago. And I ended up going in and I came out $333,000 in legal debt, no business, no credit rating, and it was just, a bend in the river of life I didn't see coming.
All right. So now, okay, this is, a pretty bad situation. You find yourself in prison, one of the worst prisons in the UK. And we talk about in the book, rather than resigning to that situation, kind of giving up, you took a whole different path, Peter, and you chose to use that experience, kind of you can put your own words to it, saw as a learning experience for yourself and as an opportunity to help others that were in there. So can you talk about that process and what that meant, that prison experience, and how you chose to put it to, I guess, an advantage, if that's the right word?
Sure. And I think I'll preface this as well to try to help the audience to deframe myself. I'll share some of the context around that, because I don't want you to think, wow, he's so cool being able to go do that, because that defeats the object. Yeah, this isn't about me. It's about being able to teach people the process that I went through so they can apply it in whatever their version of jail is, whether that's a business going down, whether it's a divorce that's traumatic, whether it's the loss of a loved one, whether it's a health issue. Yeah, it's the same principles that apply. And so for me, one of the key aspects is identity. See, how we see ourselves governs our behavior. Yeah, as you probably are, I think I mentioned, I worked with Tony Robbins for 15 years as one of his most experienced trainers. And that taught me a huge amount. And Tony says that the strongest force in the human personality is the need to remain consistent with how you define yourself, which is your identity. Why do vegetarians not eat meat? It's not because they have different teeth or a different digestive system. It's because they have their identity is, I am a vegetarian. Now, the reasons they choose that identity could be varied, whether it's health issues, moral issues, taste issues, doesn't matter. But once the identity is there, it governs who you are, what you order off the menu. So identity is key. Most people going into jail, their identity is, I'm a prisoner. That's usually very close to being a victim. It's usually very akin to mindset around resistance, resignation, guilt, shame, anger, resistance, all of that stuff. So I knew that if I chose that identity walking down the steps, that was going to take me down a corridor with no cheese, right? That was a tunnel I didn't want to run down. So I asked myself a question, and questions are the steering wheel of the mind. Yeah, questions direct focus, and most people don't take the time to think of better questions to ask themselves. And the question I said is, okay, what's the most empowering identity that I could choose in this circumstances? Because prisoner ain't it. And I thought, wow, I'm going to go in as a secret agent of change. I'm an undercover Jedi. That's me. I'm going in there to hold a light in a place where I can get to teach people the stuff that I normally teach people that pay tens of thousands of dollars to come to my events, that would never normally get that opportunity and would never normally see the light that hopefully I can shine. So that's my identity. I'm an undercover secret agent of change. And that's where I went in. And that governed everything at that point on. It became an exciting adventure. In fact, I even wrote so much to my students, as you know, with the book we'll get onto in a second, but I wrote them on the first letter. You'll see it in the first chapter of the book. Guys, don't worry about me. I'm simply on location for 6 months filming the prison scene of my movie. Right? That's how I saw it. I don't want to live a boring ass movie where I'm a victim or whatever. That's a drama, a soap opera, a horror show. No, I'm in an action adventure. This is a Bond movie. And what does a superhero have that defines them? Not that I'm trying to inflate my ego from a superhero, but I'm just to teach a point here, is that a superhero isn't defined by their superpowers. Superman could use his super skills or superpowers to go rob a bank, right? Superpowers don't make you a superhero. What makes you a superhero is the size of the supervillain you face. That's what defines you. And a good movie, nobody wants to pay good money to go watch James Bond rescue a kitten out of a tree for 90 minutes. Right? That's not going to win any points with the critics. Right? No, you want to come out of that being wrung out emotionally. You want to see what makes a great movie. Everything. You've got heartache and comedy and tragedy and romance and action and violence, all of that. And I see us all starring in the movie of our life. And if I'm so fortunate to be able to choose the final line in the scene of the last scene of my movie, I'd want it to be like, wow, that was spectacular. That's a movie I would pay to watch again. And so that's how I saw it. I'm just on location for 6 months filming the prison scene of this incredible movie. There's no straight lines in nature. You see a straight line, it's man-made. They don't exist. There are rivers, all rivers wind. And this was a bend in the river that I'm going to sail with, not resist. And so, I went in, and every 2 weeks, I had my coaching business at the time. Again, just got annihilated. I went from 50 staff to 3 staff in 3 days. We're doing multiple 6 figures a month in revenue to being in debt and being hit with legal costs and all sorts of fun stuff. But I wrote every 2 weeks. I said by hand. There's no computers in there. right? And I wrote to my students, I said, hey, listen, just because the teacher's no longer in class doesn't mean to say you can skip school. Let me take you on this journey. I don't know where it's going. I have an intent. That's the only oar that I can steer this boat in the river of this life in this particular scene. But what a great case study. Let me see if what I've been teaching you guys for so long, you can use in a situation like this, because I think I've been sent here for a reason. And if that reason is to serve and demonstrate that what I teach you can be real in this situation, what excuse you got next time you get made redundant? Right? So it was that level of, let's see if we can demonstrate this in an extreme scenario so that you guys can benefit, and while at the same time changing lives. And I wrote those letters every 2 weeks. And when I came out after 6 months, I'd written 11 letters in detail. And it's part journal, part how-to manual, a lot of my trade craft that I'd spent 30, 25 then years in personal growth, learning. And part you couldn't make it up, but it was real. And when I came out, my student says, wow, we'd learned more from those 11 letters than following you around the world for the last 2 years on stage. You have to publish this for the public. I'm like, guys, some of you guys were paying me like $50,000 a year to learn this secret sauce. They said it would help a lot of people. I'm like, I'm in. So yeah, we published it, just the 11 letters. This is not a book. It was never meant to be a book. It is literally the handwritten, typed up since 11 letters that I wrote to my senior students from jail, showing them what was happening and how I was dealing with it. And very blessed to say is, again, you have a copy there. It's gone on to change the lives of tens of thousands of people and impact people all over the world. And I never saw that coming.
So this is what's so fascinating about the whole story in the book. So I've got to ask this, Peter, so we got the 11 chapters and the letters that were going out. So can you take one of those lessons, or maybe and talk about a lesson that you could share here that would impact the person, maybe the aspiring entrepreneur looking to do their first deal, or maybe the successful person who wants to go 10x with their life? Can you share one of those lessons here that would benefit them, just right now?
Absolutely. And again, I want to make this real for the time they're graciously giving us right now to listen. So and the book goes into many different lessons and extreme lessons. I mean, chapter 7, I've got 10 minutes to stop somebody committing suicide. Not just in the moment, because you can change and motivate anybody in the moment. But what happens when they go back to their cell and think the same thoughts that caused that in the first place, for the next 2-3 days? How do you change somebody permanently in 10 minutes to be able to shift that? Chapter 4, there's 3 guys on the wing that are arguing over religion. You've got a Muslim, a Christian, and an atheist, and they've got weapons, and it's about to kick off. How do you get yourself invited into that conversation, maintain the illusion of significance for the power centers that are trying to wrestle, recontextualize the foundation of the argument so that it neutralizes it, and move on as if nothing's happened, so they become friends? I break this down piece by piece for my students. But you're likely not going to experience that in a real estate deal, but you are going to experience the levels of emotion. For example, the ability to handle rejection. What stops people from picking up the phone? Right? What's the inner workings that are going on? And a lot of that has to do with understanding the difference between biological maturity, which we don't get to vote on. I don't care how many creams you put on. I don't care how many vitamins you take. You're going to look different 50 years from now, whether you like it or not. It's part of the rule set in the physical world. But emotional maturity is a choice. And most people don't know they have a choice. They settle in as emotional teenagers for the rest of their life based upon a mindset that they adopted, sort of up to 20 years old. And so addressing that is a huge issue. And one of the biggest issues around rejection is what I call goop. Most people are swimming in goop. It's a sticky, nasty, horrible substance, which stands for the good opinion of other people. I talked about my 20s trying to prove to the world I was good enough. Most people are afraid of rejection because they don't understand, especially when it comes to real estate deals, they don't understand the difference between concept rejection and personal rejection. Mm-hmm. Just because somebody rejects your deal or your credit line or whatever it means, doesn't mean they reject you. Right? And everybody's got their own deal going on. For example, I said we all star in our own movie. Well, if we're the star of our own movie, and I'm pretty sure we are, because I think, as far as I'm aware, we're the only people that are in every single scene of our movie. Right. So by definition, every single other person that we meet in our movie plays one of 2 roles. At best, they are a supporting cast. There's no co-stars. They're a supporting cast, maybe a spouse, a boss, a best friend, a sibling, whatever. But the vast, vast majority of people that you meet in your movie in your lifetime are nothing more than film extras in your movie. Now, what's the definition of a film extra? Simple. Somebody you're not thinking about when they're no longer in your scene. Now, here's where it gets a little challenging, because we see ourselves as the star of our movie. We automatically look through that and project through that lens, thinking that everybody else sees us as the star of our movie. But of course they don't, because they're starring in a different movie. They're in their own. Now, that means that by definition, we play one of two roles in somebody else's movie. At best, we may be a supporting cast, but the vast majority of people, we're nothing more than film extras in their movie, which essentially means, and this is the takeaway, most people don't care enough about you to bother to reject you. Why? Because they're too busy being worried about what they think you're thinking of them. And everyone's running around this bubble of self-importance, wondering, what is everyone thinking of me in my bubble of self-importance? Which they're not, because they're walking around in their own bubble of self-importance, thinking, what's everybody else thinking of me in my bubble of self-importance? And when we realize that the illusion around that is we've spent most of our life adapting ourselves and our behaviors and making excuses to avoid scenarios, confrontations, situations, scenarios where we could possibly be judged, rejected, or what have you. And when we're not even being authentic. We have so much potential to be able to give, but we limit ourselves because we think that everyone's judging as the star of our movie. Make sense?
Absolutely. I want to build upon that, because I think, Peter, from a real estate entrepreneurial standpoint, especially with somebody getting started out, this was my story too. When I was getting started off, my biggest fear, my biggest hesitation was the fear of getting on the phone, just like you just said, and talking to someone, because it was fear of rejection or fear they're going to ask me a question I can't answer. It's going to be so embarrassing. They're going to realize I'm brand new at this. I've never done a deal before, which put me all into a whole path of, let me go spend the next year trying to learn everything I can learn and master, skill set. So, and I think put that probably top of the list. So for people right now that are listening, maybe that situation, which is going to be a lot of people, is there one tool or technique or principle that you could share that would help someone avoid the process I went through, wasting a year trying to find out learning more is not enough? Is there something right now you could share that might have an impact for them today?
Definitely. What we come down to in terms of how we interpret the majority of our world and our experience is down to our beliefs. Mm-hmm. And Einstein said that the most powerful question a person could ask or answer in their lifetime, not on a Sunday, not when you were bored, in their lifetime, was, do we live in a friendly or a hostile universe? That's a binary equation. Now, if you think that you live in a hostile universe, you are going to be looking through the lens of every phone call, every interaction as a potential challenge or threat or wariness or fear based unconsciously. And that's a corridor that has a direction that doesn't support the greatest version of you. Or you could choose, and it's a choice, as that we live in a friendly universe. See, for 30 years, I've been an inverse paranoid. I believe that the entire universe is involved in a secret hidden conspiracy to make me happy and successful. And so if I think I live in a friendly universe, then I know that everything is happening for my benefit. Now, if that means that I need to experience 15 levels of rejection to learn the skills to land the deal on the 16th call, I don't see that as something to run away from and scary, and other people are judging me and trying to eat me and everything else. No, that's a Darwinian mentality. I believe that the school teachers that are around us, if you want to call it that, because I believe we live in Earth School, are benevolent and looking for our custodians of our greatness. And I'll give you a very simple analogy. If you go to the gym, you have a personal trainer, and you're an athlete, but you didn't know you were an athlete. And you show up in the gym and you've got this person that's like trying to force you onto the treadmill and run until you throw up and do push-ups until your arms hurt and whatever. You're going to start resenting that personal trainer. You're going to try to avoid the workout. You're going to hide behind the treadmill next time they show up. You're going to tick the box just enough to show that you've done it as a box ticking exercise that has nothing to do with the outcome of getting fitter and stronger. Now, if you know you're an athlete and you're born to get the gold medal, I've got news for you. If you're not throwing up in 30 minutes, you want your money back. You want a better personal trainer. And you're going to bust out that last rep, even though your arms are screaming because you're proud. You try go to an athlete training for the Olympics and say, hey, Joe, I've got a really great way you can cheat on your workout. He's going to look at you like, get out of here. So the problem when it comes to making phone calls or dealing with rejection or not thinking you're good enough or anything like that, you're essentially looking at it from the place of forgetting you were an athlete. You're looking at it from the perspective, if we go to the body, from the muscle fiber. So if you're on that last burning rep and you're a muscle fiber in the bicep, what are you doing? You're sending messages to the brain, pain signals, stop, I'm being destroyed, I'm being broken down. What are you doing? Help. But if you are looking at it from the perspective and the mindset of the athlete, you're proud that you can bust out that last rep and not lift your arms for 20 minutes. And most people, when they get into a new scenario where they're doing something new, different, where they're exposed to the potential of failure, they're looking at it from the perspective of the muscle fiber on the psychological root is that they believe that if they don't do it perfectly, if it doesn't go their way immediately, then it triggers the primary fear that we all have as human beings, which is the fear we're not enough. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, therefore, we won't be loved. But the primary fear we're not enough, not good enough, not good looking enough, tall enough, short enough, whatever it is, fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. And so we will unconsciously do almost anything to avoid that, including make excuses as to why, oh, well, they probably won't be in, so I won't pick up the phone. Oh, well, I just need to go and do the advanced course, then the trainer course, then the trainer course, then the trainer's trainer. It never ends because what you're essentially doing, I mentioned it earlier, you are looking for skills to replace certainty. So shifting your perspective from a global belief that A, I live in a friendly universe. B, there are no mistakes. There's only lessons that I'm looking to learn, and I have to learn the lessons. If I said to you, hey, listen, you're 18 years old, you're single, and the fifth girl you ask out is a supermodel bombshell that takes you on the ride and adventure of your life. You can say, well, I'm sorry, you fifth girl I ask out? I've got to go through 4 no's to get to the super. No, I'm not doing that. I'm going to stay here miserable, lonely for the rest of my life. No. You don't say that. Statistically, most businesses on their first go are never successful. Mm-hmm. Failure isn't falling down. It's staying down when you're falling because you think you live in a hostile universe and everybody's judging you. Give me a break. So when it comes to that, one of the first skills is asking yourself better questions. Do I live in a friendly or a hostile universe? Pick one. And at that point, then you can start looking at the skills that go with that. One of the best skills on there is understanding rapport. People aren't inherently mean, and if they are, it's because they're having a bad day. People aren't looking for you to fail. That's your just perception of trying to make it fit the pictures of your fears and insecurities. I remember when I first got into real estate, I picked up the phone to some of the most successful real estate investors. I was a kid. I was 22. I got no experience. And I said, hey, listen, you're one of the most successful property owners in the city. I see you, quoted in the papers. I see you writing articles. And I would love to be able to take you to lunch for 30 minutes at your favorite restaurant on me just to pick your brain. Would you mind sharing me? Now, some of them are too busy. Some of you are not going to get past the gatekeeper. And a couple says, hey, yeah, I'd love that. Because they inherently want to give back. And I sat and I had a list of questions and I got more in 2 lunches that cost me like $40 each than I could have possibly got from books. And it was having the fear of getting through the first 2 people that says no, or the first secretary that says, I'm sorry, he's too busy. Goodbye. That kept me going. If I'd have gave up at that point, I'd have shortcut a lifetime of learning that I got out of 2 lunches. Make sense?
I think it's excellent. I think that is really brilliantly simple because a couple of things there I want to reinforce, Peter, and you can chime in and tell me if I got this right, is first of all, it is a choice. Is it a friendly universe or a hostile universe? And so if it's a friendly universe, I should anticipate success, which means everything along the way is just a learning experience. I either win or learn. I mean, that's the worst thing. I either win or learn. And I think that is so appropriate for people who put everything on the line as if this call is not perfect. There's something wrong with me. This was never meant to be. That's the hostile universe mentality and mindset. But at the same time, every call advances me to getting better for the next call. That's the worst thing that's going to happen. I'm going to be better for the next time. Is this an appropriate summary of what you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, if you realize that Yeah, there are no straight lines in nature. You can't prejudge what's going to happen. The deal that says no now may be because you're not ready for it. Yeah. It may be that connection you just made, or that deal comes back online at the perfect moment. See, a lot of the time we place way too much importance on things happening, and therefore energetically we tend to push them away. But one of the biggest insights that I've seen through working with people over the years is that the mistake most people make, especially getting started, is that they tie their self-worth to their net worth. And your self-worth and net worth are not correlated in any way, shape or form. I came out of prison, $350,000 in debt with no business, no credit rating, no bank account, nothing. And I owed 150 people seminars, tickets, coaching, all stuff that I had no way of being able to provide. I got excited. I've never dug myself out of a hole that deep before. This is going to be fun. Let's see where we go. And I had that level of mentality. It's like embracing the adventure. And 6 months, 4 years down the line now, I'm at a place that was so far more further ahead than I was there, because I don't define myself by my net worth. If I'd have come out of prison and my self-worth would have been in the toilet because my net worth was non-existent, I'd have never been able to have the energy and the enthusiasm to go climb out of the well. It's just how you look at it.
So that everything you're discussing is basically reframing the experience. It's the belief system, but reframing it, what it's going to be for you. Like, I love, you went in the prison situation. I'm a Jedi. I'm here on an adventure. I'm here an internal spy to a mission. That was a reframing. Reframing the universe is conspiring to help me. Reframing that every experience is either a learn or a win. I mean, I think it's brilliant what you're doing. And so here's a question I've got. So you were already practicing it before you had, quote, your prison experience. But as a result of that, what was the legacy or the residual effect either for you or those inside the prison or your students now that you're coaching? Was that a step change event in the process, or was it just part of the story?
It was obviously very rewarding and humbling for me, because it allowed me to see an aspect of society that I guess it would be too easy to prejudge having not experienced it. Prison isn't full of bad people. It's full of good people that have made some bad decisions. When you start to understand that, there for the grace of God go I, it tends to lower your levels of judgment. And the legacy, again, very, very proud. What I did in the 6 months was what was very impactful. I got a lot of the prisoners off drugs. I was stopping suicides, I mentioned. I redesigned the intake system that reduced violence between the wings. It's now being rolled out in prisons all over the world. I won a national award for the work that I did while I was in there. And it created a legacy that's impacting tens of thousands of prisoners a month all around the world now. And that I'm very proud of. I'm also very humbled by that. If I was just an instrument that was allowed to go in to be able to shine a light, with one candle, you can light many. And so the book itself now is helping, thousands of people all over the world that are not incarcerated, that have their own versions of what I went through at some level. The tagline of the book is the ultimate guide to conquering adversity. And we're living in a time right now where a lot of people could do with some skill sets and some mindset shifts around that, which is why it's laid out in the book step by step, all of the things that I was using, having thought I'd lost everything, to be able to turn it into a magical adventure and come out strong. And I'm also very real. The third chapter, I talk about the times I cried, the times I doubted myself, the times that I touched on depression, and how I was able to get myself out of that with bootstrapping it with no external resources. Using what I'd learned for the last 25 years at that point in personal growth. So it showed that what I was doing was real. I think there's a lot of people that have made a lot of money in personal growth by telling other people how to be successful. Right? There's a lot of that going on. So it gave me an ability to demonstrate credibility in what it is that I teach, rather than have it being theory. In fact, as you see in the first chapter, again, I talk about theory. It doesn't cover the price of admission to the higher levels of greatness. You're going to be tested. Why? Because we're in Earth School, and the strongest trees grow in the strongest winds, not the best soil. And if we're here to become the best versions of ourselves, you don't grow inside of a comfort zone. That's not going to happen. So expect to be tested. If you want to be the best tree you can be, pray for some strong winds and don't bitch about them when they show up. Right? If you live in a friendly universe, it's here to help. just because you don't feel like that, because you're looking at it from the muscle fiber perspective at that time, and I know it's hard. We're all facing certain stuff, but outer world follows inner world. Case closed. And if we're trying to control things we can't control, which most people in real estate deals and every other deals in business, that's where most of the stress comes from. Trying to control something you can't control. Give it up. Allow that to surface at the best way you can, with you putting one foot in front of the other to do the best you can do with what you can control. But if you want the fastest track to unhappiness and stress, I'll give it to you. Try to expect everybody else to do, act, or behave in the way that you expect them or want them to be, do, act, or behave. And when you get a sore head banging against that wall, come talk to me.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, it is absolutely, that experience, at least from my perspective, what you just said was the ultimate demonstration of the power of what you teach. Is just, there's just the credibility of it, the reality of it, the importance of it is demonstrated through that story. So I've got one final question, Peter, but before we do that, I do want you to share. I know we've got a special offer for everyone, how to get your book for free. So can you talk about how to get the inside track?
Yeah, certainly. My mission is to try to help as many people as I can. I'm lucky. I'm back in a position now where I'm debt free. I'm helping a lot of people. We're donating huge amounts to different prisons and ministries and what have you. And I want to get that book in as many people's hands as possible right now, because in the current global situation, what it's going to get us through this last 2 years of fear porn is essentially people becoming the best versions of themselves, rather than being crushed by the current global economic situation, to be able to turn around and crush it. And there's a lot of people doing that right now, not because they're in better industries or have better governments or policies, but because they know how to navigate the inner world to rise up to a challenge rather than cower from it. And so I want to get this book out to as many people as I can. So I've made a commitment. If you can go to Barnes & Noble or Amazon, pay $24.95, and it's worth every penny. I'll put my hand on heart for that. But I want to try to give it away. So if you go to getpetesbook.com/Lance, which is a special offer I've given for you, your tribe, and anybody that's listening to this, then you can cover or chip in actually to cover some of the price of the shipping and handling. It costs me more than what I'm asking from you to print the book and have it shipped to your home as a copy. I can promise you that. I'm losing on every one, but I want to do that. We've got a budget to do it. I'm happy to donate that. And I think you give me something like $10 instead of the $29.90, $24.95 plus shipping. Give me $10 and I'll print the book for you. I'll ship it to your house. And I'll give you a whole load of other stuff that's part of that as well, some free training as a thank you, because I want people showing up, not just to get a book and stick it on the shelf. That's data for later. But I challenge you, read the first chapter. That's all I'm going to ask. Read the first chapter. If you're not hooked, keep the book. I'll send you your postage back, right? But if you are inspired, like the thousands of people that you go to Amazon, Goodreads, Kindle, Audible, iBooks, and see any of the reviews, it's pretty much changed the life of everybody that's read it. And I can't ask for more than that. Well,
I want to put my endorsement in there, everybody, because I've read the book, and it's fabulous. You shared a portion of the story, but the insights into any aspect of your life, not just real estate, but any aspect of your life, and addressing adversity and wanting to play bigger is in the real life laboratory. I couldn't think of a more demanding situation where Peter had to apply it, and then he shared it with his students through the letter. So take advantage of the book. It's www.getpetesbook.com/Lance. We'll put it in the show notes, the URL, so you can get it there. And it's a free book. You just pay a little bit of the shipping and handling. And it's just awesome. It's just awesome. So here's, I guess, the final question I have for you, Peter. This has been fantastic. You've covered a lot of territory here. And so we have people that are listening to this podcast and can we listen to the podcast in a real estate space, aspiring real estate entrepreneurs. Some of them are doing transactions. They want to go to the next level. Some are maybe a very high level and even go to a 10x that. Is there a single most important lesson learned that you either want to reemphasize now or add to what you've been sharing to help them go to whatever their next level is?
I mentioned earlier about that. A lot of people get to the top of Success Mountain and they want to jump off. There's the most successful people I've seen that understand the difference between a life-chasing success and a life-chasing fulfillment are the people that are playing a different game. They're playing the game of feel great now, not feel great when. And so many of us are putting this happiness at the end of the rainbow that when we get there and we finally get this 10x deal, and I call it the curse of the white rabbit. Yeah, if you see a greyhound on a track, it's chasing a mechanical rabbit. It never catches the rabbit. Not because it's not a good enough greyhound, not because it needs to catch the rabbit to prove that it's a good enough greyhound, but it's chasing the rabbit because greyhounds are born to run. Entrepreneurs are born to build businesses. That's what we do. But if we're doing it to try to validate ourselves, to prove to our parents that we're better than our elder brother, or to the teacher that said we'd never amount to anything, or to our family that we're finally good enough to put food on the table, or any of that stuff, you are chasing a rabbit that you cannot catch by design. Yeah, the rabbit is going to run and you're not going to catch it, right? The greyhound, yeah, if it sleeps in a better kennel, has a better diet, yeah, has a better trainer, it's never going to catch the rabbit because it's designed that way. And so many people, Lance, are chasing the rabbit of fulfillment by running on the track of achievement, and never the two shall meet. They're playing the game of feel great when. And it's the old adage, you see it so often, and I've done it. I've coached and counseled so many people, millionaires, billionaires, centimillionaires, at the end of the game, where they've spent their entire life going for the big one or trying to get to the next level. And even if you catch the rabbit you think is going to get you there, guess what? You're happy for about 20 seconds, then another white fluffy tail appears, and it must be that rabbit, then I'll finally have made it. I thought when I make my first million, I'll be happy. I made my first million, guess what? I wasn't happy. Of course, I need to make 2 million in case I lose the first. That game never ends. I've worked with people worth 700 million, miserable because they're not a billionaire. And what happens is you sacrifice the best years of your life, ruining your relationships, missing your kids grow up, sacrificing your health. So hopefully one day you can finally get that 10x level from where you were. And even if you do feel like you've arrived, what are you going to do? You finally exit, you cash out. You've finally got enough money to do what you want. And what do? I'll tell you what you do. You pay for your divorce. You buy your kids loads of stuff so you think they love you again, and you hire a personal trainer to try to get your health back. I mean, it's play the game of feel great now. You are not what you're worth. You're never going to take it with you. You never see a hearse with a roof rack. The only people that tried that were the Egyptians. And what happened? We dug it up and stole it. So when it comes to, what are you doing this for? If it's to prove that you're a good enough greyhound by how many rabbits you get, you're never going to win the game. The people that ironically usually accumulate the most toys, money, wealth, status, all that kind of stuff, that are the happiest, are the ones that were the happiest as part of the journey. You see a greyhound at the end of the race, they're ecstatic. Why? They got to run. They don't validate. There's no market for pet Prozac because the greyhound didn't catch enough rabbits. No. Go play the game. Go build the business. Go get the 10x. Go do all of that. But love yourself for where you're at. Feel great now, no matter what. Because when you get to where you think you're going, you're only going to be there with you, who's the you that you're with now. And if you ain't going to be happy now, you ain't going to be happy then. Make sense?
That's excellent. That is so excellent. That's excellent. So everyone, listen, you want to get plugged into this gentleman, start right here. Get his book, The Inside Track. Go to www.getpetesbook.com/Lance. I'll put it on the show notes, and we'll have all the show notes for this great podcast. Peter, this has been excellent. I just want to applaud the great work that you're doing, and thank you for putting this book together. I mean, that was just as a demonstration of everything that you teach and live, and as a tool for everyone. I can't think of a better vehicle than what you're doing right now, but get started here, and also find a way to get involved with Peter, work with Peter, and take your life to the next level, but get that fulfillment today as he's talking about. So Peter, man, great job, man. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing with us today on the podcast.
No, Lance, thank you. Again, it's always a pleasure to be able to be with somebody who's putting so much value out to their tribe, that's really trying to be a custodian of their greatness. And it's been an honor to come on and hopefully shine a little light on the path that I've walked so that others may be fortunate enough to follow.
Well, again, thank you so much. And for everybody, listen, for the audio of this, recording of it in the show notes, you always go to greenlightreinvesting.com. Great stuff here, including the show notes for this event and how to get the book, The Inside Track, www.getpetesbook.com/Lance. Until next time, take the advice here from this gentleman. Make yourself a successful lifestyle. Next time. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Interview with the Experts with Lance Edwards. Let us now blatantly and shamelessly bribe you toward creating your own real estate lifestyle by offering you a whole bunch of free stuff. Go to greenlightreinvesting.com and get you some free stuff and this session's show notes. That's greenlightreinvesting.com.